very rarely have I've shot a lot of animals with a Barnes bullet, and very rarely have I ever found one, because most of the time they're going to blow through a complete animal, right? It doesn't matter if you're shooting through a shoulder, if you're quartering at a weird angle. I actually found the one that I shot my moose with, but that was only because I hit him basically at the base of the neck. So it went through the neck, basically into the front of this shoulder, through this shoulder, and it was barely hanging on that one. And that was at 400-ish yards out of a 300 Weatherby mag, just to give you an idea, right? So
yeah, I'd found one of my TTSX. I was spring bear hunting, and I'd shot a bear at like 275 yards, and it was a frontal, and so it went through the body. I can't remember where it was at, and was able to recover it there. I was like, it was super cool to be able to see that.
I was like, well, if I throw a mic on, then I can help others the way that these people have all helped me.
Born in the heart of the Pennsylvania deer camp, with the help of experts, friends, and local legends, we bring you valuable knowledge and powerful stories for your hunting adventures. Welcome to the East Meets West Hunt Podcast with your host, Beau Martonik.
All right, Dale Evans, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good, man. How about yourself?
Doing pretty good. It's a beautiful day here in Montana.
Yeah, it's if anybody's watching the video version, it's probably one of the more scenic backdrops that we could have.
It definitely is. It's a gorgeous late June day here in Montana.
Yeah. No, it's pretty awesome down here at the Total Archery Challenge, but in Red Lodge. But you actually don't live too far from here, so it made perfect sense to be able to link up.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you making time for it and having me on.
Yeah, so Dale, you work for Barnes, and that's how I got introduced to you. But It was funny, as we've got to talk and know each other a little bit more. There's been how do I want to put it? We have like similar stories in a way, other than the fact that you had actually moved out west, and we got a dog here.
We do have a dog here. That just makes it more fun.
Hi, buddy.
Now it will be the most watched podcast just because of having a dog.
Yeah.
Hopefully it doesn't knock the camera over.
I know, that's what I was thinking. Okay, there we go. All right, we're good. So anyways, work for Barnes, but we have a very similar kind of story in the fact of loving hunting out west and wanting to do that. So I want to hear a little bit about you and kind of how you got here.
Yeah, so I grew up in Northeast Florida, hunting whitetails basically since I could walk, essentially, is the way I kind of look at it. My stepdad started taking me hunting when I was 5 years old. Going along with him, riding in a dog box. We did a lot of dog hunting back there, right? Running deer with dogs. So that's kind of where I cut my teeth. And then, fast forward to 12, 13 years old where I can start hunting for myself. I started, having like my mom sit with me and I'd hunt whitetails. And then we started hunting South Georgia as well as North Florida. And yeah, I just grew up hunting, turkeys, pigs, whitetails, like all along the southeast, if you will. Fast forward to, me graduating high school. I joined the military. I was in the Air Force. I was a JTAC for a little over 10 years. And during that time, on my second deployment, I was overseas, and my stepdad, his best friend, had bought a house out in Wyoming, and they were going out there every year elk hunting. And he's like, what you should do this year, since you've missed hunting season because I was deployed, is you should put in for an elk tag, because this was like December, right? Yeah. And January is the application. And I was like, okay, that sounds great. Like, I've got the means, I've got the opportunity, right? I'll be back from this deployment. I'll have some time before my next one. Great. He's like, you might apply. You don't have any points, blah, 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 right? Anyway, fast forward, I apply, I draw there. And go elk hunting. I went out there for 24 days straight the first time. And literally I bow hunted for the first 15 days or something like that. And then I gave myself essentially a week to rifle hunt, right?
Yep.
For the just in case I didn't kill one with a bow. Ended up killing one on the second day of rifle season. I killed a nice 6x6 bull, right? And I was instantly hooked on elk hunting, everything out west. Again, fast forward, that was in 2010. Fast forward to 2011, again, I'm deployed. Same thought process kind of came across as I need to apply for elk season out in Wyoming because now that I've done it, I want to do it every single year.
Yeah.
Applied again, drew again. Decided, okay, this year I'm going to go out and I think I can only stretch like 20 days this time, right? Only 20 days. That was the nice thing about being in the military, right? Is that like, because I was deployed so often, I had so much leave. And in between those deployments, I kind of had free reign, if you will, of like use my leave as I could. So again, I used 20 days, went back out there and ended up killing a bull on the first day of rifle season this time. And killed just a giant 5x5. So, and also I should say that I drew an antelope tag that year and killed my first antelope buck. So now I'm like absolutely hooked on everything Western hunting, if you will.
So yeah, like I don't know if I've ever heard anybody have that much success that early in getting into it. That is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, obviously, I had some helpers along the way, right? Because there was guys that had been doing it for 5 or 6 years. What is interesting is that there were those guys that had been doing it for 5, 6, 7 years, and they hadn't even killed a bull yet. And here I went out there twice and like killed 2 bulls. But I was considerably younger than these guys, right? You got to think that they're pushing in the upper 50s. I'm 28 at the time, or I guess 2010. I got to think back. Oh my gosh. I was 25 at the time, right? Okay. So like, it kind of, it gave me a little bit of a leg up, right? They could tell me like really cool places that they always wanted to go to, but it was just a little too far for them to be able to go. And I was like, well, I'll go. You know? Like 100%. What's 7 miles? You know what I mean? Not thinking about the whole thought process of like, once you get one of those down, you have to get it out on that 7 miles. That happened on me on that first bull that I killed. I killed it by myself, right at about 6 miles from the truck. And literally, I walk up on this animal again. Think back that I've never killed anything larger than a 180-pound whitetail at this point. Now I've got this 600-plus-pound bull elk laying on the ground, and I was like, "What do I do?" And I instantly go into the like, get the guts out. Right, it's 60 degrees or so, give or take, and I'm like, get the guts out, like cool this thing down as fast as possible. I had just enough cell reception that I could call back to the house. Got in touch with my stepdad that was there. He's like, I'm on the way with pack frames,
Yeah.
And I'll help you. He's like, just try to get the guts out type of thing. His same thought process. Luckily I had an old cowboy come riding up on me that was also elk hunting. And he was just like, hey, like, looks like you got one. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, what are you doing? Cause I'm over elbows deep in this bull, like pulling the guts out. And he's like, there's an easier way to do this. And I was like, not really, man. I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, just to be honest, right? Like, I know how to get meat off of an animal, but that's that. So anyway, he kind of like basically talks me through the gutless method. And he's like, also, if you need some help, I'm going to pack out today. And I'll be bringing my pack string through. And if you can get this done in the next 3 hours, I'll pack out the bull for you. Huge relief.
Oh, my God.
Huge relief. Right. So, anyway, I get to work, right? Obviously I get half of the bull done by the time that my stepdad gets there. He helps me get the other side out, or other side cut up. And about that time, like cowboy comes up and we load it up and take it back to the truck. And it was like a blessing in disguise, right? Because we didn't know the undertaking, or I didn't know. Stepdad knew. He's like, this is going to be some work. It's probably going to take us 2 days, right?
Yeah. And it's so easy to say that,
right,
versus actually doing it and being it. Like, and you say in 6 miles. I remember when I was like researching Western hunting, and I'd hear, these guys talk about that are badasses that have been doing it for a while, but packing, 7, 8, 9 miles in and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, it's no big deal if I'm 4 or 5, and then I get here and you see the scale of everything.
Right.
And when you actually get an elk on the ground, it's like, this is a big deal.
Yeah.
Like this.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. I mean, it's just such a big undertaking, right? And you think that 1/4 is 60, 80 pounds in itself, right? I mean, it's definitely a big task at hand.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I did that. Like I said, back-to-back years, 2010, 2011, like kill bulls, kill my first antelope, and 2014 came around, and it was time for me to either decide to re-enlist or get out of the military. I was right at 10 years in, and it was like, if I go ahead and re-enlist, I'm going to have to stay in for the full 20, or I get out now and I go chase dreams, right? Yeah. That was kind of my thought process. So I decided to get out. My next thing was, well, guess I'm moving out west, because I told myself when I get out of the military, I'm moving west because I want an elk tag in my pocket for the rest of my life, every single year. So I did that. I mean, I literally, a month after I got out of the military, I packed everything up into a U-Haul truck and moved to Wyoming.
Oh my gosh, man. Like, did you have a plan?
I kind of did. I mean, I'd been talking to this company that wanted to hire me on. It was like an oil and gas company, right? As most of the things are in Wyoming. And I got hired on, and quickly it just kind of, the company wasn't doing as well as I thought it was, if you will. So I worked there for a little while. I started looking into going back to school. And I just kind of bounced around that first year, if you will. And it was nice because you got to think I was in the military at 19, right? Yeah. And when you're joining at 19 and then you go in for 10 years, I turned 30 while I'm, like just when I get to Wyoming, you've lived under your parents' roof all your life. Now you've lived under the military's roof, if you will, all your life, being told when to wake up, essentially when to be somewhere all the time. That was kind of the first year that I was able to be kind of a civilian and just figure out, like, who is Dale as a person? Like, what do you want to do with life? Like, what do you want to chase? So I kind of took that year to really just, bounce around, kind of do a lot of different things. I guided in the fall in Kansas for whitetails. I worked for a power sports company for a little while. Like I got into photography, at that same time frame, right? I bought my first DSLR on the drive to Wyoming because I stopped in Nebraska on my way and had to shoot some turkeys in the face, because I couldn't pass up that opportunity because there was about 5 days left in the season while I was passing through. But like literally bought a DSLR and just kind of like taught myself how to run a camera and started just playing around. And my whole thought process was, I'm moving out to this really cool place. I have all these friends back on the East Coast that will probably never see this place or never really get to experience what I'm experiencing. I just want to share it through social media and sending photos back, when I'm seeing these elk or deer or moose or the gorgeous landscapes like we have behind us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And just the fact though that what I think is so big about that is the fact that you just went and did it. Yeah. Like I think there's a lot of people that want to do that or chase their dreams and stuff. And especially timing is everything on a lot of things, and that timing lined up to just like, let's go see. When my brother was in the military, he was also in the Air Force for a while, and that's when he got out, him and his wife were just like, they wanted to go out west, and he went out to Colorado, went to the Colorado School of Trades gunsmithing, and ended up going to Montana for a few years, and they ended up coming back to Pennsylvania, but they're like, we got to do that they wanted to, and now they want to be around family, but it gets harder when the older you get to do that.
And as you start to develop a family, right? When you have a wife, when you have kids and all that type of things, it gets very difficult. And, I kind of look back and I mean, there's, again, tons of my friends that are still back on the East Coast, still down there in Florida, and they're like, man, you're just out there living the dream and you're doing all these cool things. And it's funny, like when I was in the military, I always kind of had this saying that it was like, don't talk about it, be about it. And that's kind of the way that I took that approach, right? It's like, I can talk about this and hope to be able to do this one day, or I can just make the leap. Like if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, right? Yeah. You always have something to fall back on with your family and everything being back on the East Coast. But for me, I was like, there's no better time than the present. I've got the means, I've got the opportunity, like let's go.
Yeah. I think that's awesome. And I did want to caveat that a little bit by saying that I don't mean that you can't do it when you're older.
Right.
my buddy Tim that lives here in Billings, Tim, I apologize if I get your age wrong, but I think you're close to 40 around 40 when he decided to up and leave New York and move out here. And he's like, it's the best thing ever.
Right.
And just like, and that's not telling everybody.
I was going to say, don't tell everybody that it's the best thing ever.
Yes. But like, as far as like, that was his goals,
right.
What he wanted to do and build a life. I mean, change, his career, everything, just to go live that life. And I mean, you're in control of it. You got to be the one that steers that ship.
Exactly. I mean, the way I look at it is you get one circle, right? Like one trip around, like make it worthwhile. Do everything that you want to do. Like, don't leave anything on the table. What I've always said is I don't want to be the old man on his deathbed in a diaper, like thinking about all the things that I should have done in life. Like, I want to be the guy that's like, damn, like I lived it,
Yeah. Dude, it's so true too. And just like when you look at it that way, and I mean, I even think about it now where as I'm getting older, how fast things
absolutely
how fast things are going. Like I just turned 33
right.
And it was just like, I was like, oh man, it's like my 15-year class, reunion from high school. I'm like, what? Like, this felt like yesterday.
Right.
And, been out of college for, I don't know, I graduated in December of 2013. So it's like, it's been a while. And I was like, where did that time go?
Yeah.
And now, but the thing I feel like I'm running into is like, I have so many things I want to do. And this is definitely, first world problem, but so many things I want to do and feel like there's not the time to make it happen, hunt or travel or go to different places, do things like. Yeah.
When you start to have that like work-life balance and then you start to, as you have a family and have kids or anything like that, right? Like we have 2 small kids at home. Like it is crazy how fast time goes by. It feels like, I mean, literally we're sitting here and it's late June. I feel like it was just January and we were getting ready to go to SHOT Show. You know what I mean? And here it is June and I'm like, holy crap, like I'm a month out from basically going on my first hunt of the year. Like, how did that happen? Like, where did the time go and how does it slip that fast through your fingers?
Yeah. It's insane.
Yeah.
How quickly that went. Because it was funny. I was talking to someone the other day and like, man, hunting season's coming quick. I'm like, yeah. And I was like, I obviously love hunting season, but I don't wish away time either.
Right.
I like the different seasons. I like summertime. I like spring. I like winter for a while. But like, I like to enjoy all of it. But it's just like, but as soon as it gets here, it's over just as fast.
I know.
It's so difficult. It's wild. And I always would hear old timers saying that when I was a kid of like, oh, time goes faster as you get older.
Absolutely.
But man, it definitely seems like it does. But okay. So, when you moved to Wyoming, picked up a camera, went through that, what was kind of that next thing for you? Just killing animals?
I mean, kind of, sort of, right? It took me a year to get my residency there in Wyoming. As I was doing that, I was kind of doing that bouncing around, right? So I wasn't able to hunt that first season that I was there. But, I still had fun. I actually went to Kansas and killed a nice buck with my bow, because I had already drawn that tag. And so it kind of worked out that I was guiding in Kansas for the outfitter that I was actually planning to hunt with, all of those things.
Yep.
So anyway, kind of fast forward, I get back to Wyoming after, the first of the year. I went home for a little bit, hung out with family over the holidays, and then went back to Wyoming. Endured that winter and still trying to kind of learn more camera stuff. My dog was my, was my main model, if you will, to learn more things during that time. But as the spring kind of sprung and I was able to get out, I actually made a trip to Yellowstone because I was living in Laramie, right?
Okay,
so southeast Wyoming. And I made a trip to Yellowstone, right? It's a 4.5 hour trip. But my buddy's place that I was always elk hunting wasn't that far away, right? It's an hour and a half or so, 2 hours away. So I was like, well, I'll just stop in, like see them for a little bit, hit over to Yellowstone, hang out in there for a couple of days. During that trip, I kind of made a loop up through Bozeman, for a day. And as I did, I was like, man, this is kind of a cool little town, right? You got to think this is back in 2015, right? So this is 11 years ago now. And this is July timeframe. Make a trip, like kind of flip through, and I was like, man, this is kind of cool little town. Like, see that they have Montana State here, all this. I've been talking about going back to school, do my photo trip, like, get photographs of elk and velvet and bison and all that stuff. And I went back home to Laramie and I started researching Montana State. I applied right there afterwards and was like, they've got a pretty cool fish and wildlife program. Because I'm still kind of figuring out what do I want to do. Yeah. Right.
Trying to figure out who you are still.
Right. And just like, what do I want to do as a career now?
Yeah.
So I was like, well, fish and wildlife makes sense, right? It puts me outdoors. Yep. It gets me around animals, all this stuff. So I applied, find out 2 weeks later that I'm accepted and that I have to be in Bozeman by like August 18th because classes start like August 23rd. And it's July 10th time frame. So I have a month to get out of my lease there, right, out of my apartment, get all my stuff, and move up there. And saying all that, this is going to be my first year of having resident tags in Wyoming. And because I was a college student, full-time college student, I could keep my residency in Wyoming. So I wanted to do that because I had my good places to hunt down there, right? So I decided to move up there. Archery antelope season opens on August 15th. In Wyoming. So I was like, well, I'll just hunt for a few days and then I'll make my move up there. I loaded up everything in my truck and again, like a little trailer, and hunted for a few days and then drove up to Bozeman and already had a, place secure. So went to college at Montana State for 4 years. Ended up after the first semester, I decided that fish and wildlife was not the way that I wanted to go because I started learning about seed plants and stuff that I absolutely had no desire to ever learn about in my life. Yeah. You had to learn about the plants and the species that the animals are eating, right? Don't care about that. Like, I just want to go look at cool animals and study them, Yeah. So while I was doing that, the photography thing was really starting to, in a way, take off for me, right? I'd started kind of selling some prints through social media. People were liking what I was seeing or what they were seeing. I was actually getting like Army F and Wild Sheep and all these people like sharing posts, right? So like things were starting to kind of like jump off the ground. So I had taken an intro to photo class in that first semester. And while I was in there, like, the professor even told me, he's like, hey, you kind of got a knack for this thing. Like, I see that you're passionate about it. I see that you really, work at your game, if you will. He's like, you should really look into changing your major over. And I was like, I don't know. Like, what are you going to do with a photo and video degree, right? Like, you don't need that to go get a job. And he's like, well, think about it. And at least make it a minor. So, anyway, needless to say, I think about it over the summer and decide to go full bore into it and change my major. So ended up majoring in photo and video, got my degree in photo and video, and was able to do that in 3 years, time frame because I spent the first year. Anyway, so yeah, was able to do that. And now I'm graduating in May of 19, I think it was. And it was kind of one of those things that I was like, well, shit, like, what am I going to do now? Yeah. Like, I've got a degree. I've done my military time, but like, what am I actually going to do? And that was early May, I think it was of that year. And I think it was June, like right around my birthday. My birthday is June 9th. Like, so I just
one day after mine.
Huh. Yeah. Crazy.
I'm the 8th. Awesome.
Yeah. So my birthday is June 9th, and I think it was like right around that time frame. I saw a posting. I'd been following Randy Newberg for years, right? Like, I'd watched his stuff and really liked the advocacy that he stands for, with public lands and do-it-yourself hunting and all that, right? So I saw a posting that he had for a cameraman, that they were looking for somebody new. And I was like, well, he's right here in Bozeman. I'm right here in Bozeman. Like, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
But I kind of just brushed it off. I was like, he's looking for a cameraman. I'm more of a photo guy. About that time, my social media and phone starts blowing up with screenshots and sending stories or whatever you want to call it, like sending posts to my DMs from like 15 people, literally in like a 3-day stretch of like, hey, you should really apply for this. Hey, you should really apply for this. Like, hey, this looks like a really good fit for you. And I'm like, I try to look at things as like, sometimes God just kind of shines down on you and you need that little push, and maybe it's kind of from your friends and your family and everything. So I talked to my, then fiance, and I said, what do you think about this? And she's like, do it. Why not? You have nothing to lose. Like, what else are you going to do? I'm like, you do understand that I'll be on the road a lot, like filming hunts. And she's like, well, you already hunt a lot already. You might as well get paid for it. I was like, you have a damn good point here.
That's a great woman.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, cool. So I ended up applying, get an interview, go talk to Randy. We have a great interview. And he's like, well, I want you to talk to Marcus and Michael before, we make this decision, right? They're kind of our lead guys. And I'm like, okay, cool. So we end up talking to Marcus and Michael. We go to lunch, have a conversation, and I'm hired by July 1st of that year to go work for Randy. So it was like balls to the wall. Like, now I need to learn how to tell a story with a video camera rather than just through photos.
Mm-hmm. Did you still do photos in the mix of it as well?
Yeah, I mean, I would consider myself, like, during my time working with Randy, I was kind of more, I was like the lead photographer, if you will, if we needed to do photo shoots for Sitka or Howa or Loophole or whatever. And even on hunts, like if we had 2 camera guys, one guy would really focus on the video side. I would be more secondary camera and then photos.
Gotcha. No, that makes sense. What was it like, working with Randy? Like, because you said you were there for 3 years.
Yeah. It was like 3.5 seasons, I think. Thinking about back to July, and I loved it. I mean, I still love Randy as a person, as a human being. Like, super great guy. I always joke around. Hopefully my boss right now doesn't listen to this, but I always joke around that he was my best boss that I've ever had. Yeah. Right. Down to earth, super humble, right? Understands that family comes first, and also understands what the job entails, right? Like, you're on the road a lot. Like, it's taxing on your body. It's taxing on your at-home life, right? So he always gave us the opportunity to spend time as much as we could with our family. And then when it's time to work, it's time to work.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I could see that. I mean, Randy's values. I mean, he's very outspoken about his values, right. And it's great to see that. And for the most part, there, like, a lot of people that have worked there for him have been there for
a long time. Yeah, I mean, you look at Marcus, right? He's been there for 11, 12 years at this point now.
You don't see that,
right? And especially in the outdoor industry, as a quote lead camera guy.
Well, right? Think about it. Like, it is tough to and when you're spending a lot of time around somebody out in the woods, and you're sleeping in a tent with them, you're hunting with them all day, you're traveling. Like, I don't love people that much to want to spend a lot of time around. So it's hard when it comes to that, to like, even if 2 people could be great people individually, putting them together that amount of time can create some issues.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing, right? You kind of see people like in the hunting, especially when you're talking about mountain hunting, right? Like, you see people kind of at their best and at their worst, in a way, right? Like, when they're just dog tired and it's day 7 of a 10-day hunt or something like that, and you're just getting your butt whooped by the animals, by the elements, by Mother Nature, by the terrain, whatever it is. I mean, people shut down or kind of just have really bad moments, but at the same time, you get to experience some really, really cool moments with people. And that's some of the key takeaways that I had, while I was there, right, is like being able to film some of these people kill maybe their first elk ever, or potentially their last elk ever, right? Because they're older, like when we would hunt with his family members and stuff, right? And the joy and excitement that they had, from something that, in a way, as we're younger, right, we kind of take for granted that, oh, well, we'll be able to do this again next year. We'll be able to do this again next year, right? Like, it was super humbling in that way.
Yeah, man. I give so much credit to people that are lead camera guys in general that are going out and doing it. But at the same time, like, I think the fact that you went for it, even though you didn't feel like you were fully qualified.
Yeah.
I know, like, even for myself, when I'm going to hire people, I don't care if someone has all of the skills. I want the right person,
right?
Like,
exactly.
And the mindset and the willingness to learn and do it. And a lot of people are willing to say that, and it's hard to be able to vet that. But I think I think anybody can make it in this space and do those types of things if you really want it, and you got to be willing to put in the hours outside of the hours
Absolutely.
to learn it. So I think that's super cool. But, you know, did you at some point were you like, I want to do something different, or what made you kind of transition?
Yeah, it was kind of funny, so my wife and I were married by this point, right? And 2020 came, we were living in Bozeman, we were renting a place, and Bozeman exploded throughout the COVID time. Mm-hmm. My wife and I got married in November of 2019. So then COVID happens right as we're about to look for a house. So then literally the real estate market tripled in a 6-month time frame, and essentially just kind of, priced us out of living there anymore. My wife's a school teacher. She's been a school teacher for 12, 13 years now, I believe. I want to say that. Hopefully I'm getting that correct. And it was just like, it's tough to make it when the new median house price is $1 million in Bozeman, right? Like, how do you make that? Even the best cameraman on the market doesn't make nearly that much money to be able to do that, right? So we started kind of looking around. Obviously, we were, starting to think about like having kids and all this stuff, right? So that's when we decided that we wanted to move outside of Bozeman and move to Billings, because the housing market made a lot more sense there. Plus, her family lives there. Her mom and dad live there. So it would put us closer to them, right? Again, with me traveling as much as I do, it made more sense for us just to be close to her family. So I started kind of talking to some people. We were kind of thinking through this, and I was, friends with Joe Farinato, that at the time he used to work for Meat Eater when we were all in Bozeman together. Started working for Peterson's Hunting at the time, and he's like, "Hey man, I know that you guys are, looking for something different potentially. I mean, again, we lived 5 minutes down the road. We were having dinner 3 times a week, right? Like all this type of stuff." And he's like, "We have a position open over here at Peterson's Hunting for a digital editor." And I'm like, "Oh, that could be kind of interesting. Not really in my wheelhouse, if you will. But again, why not, right? Like, I can learn. I'm a pretty damn quick learner when it comes to these things." And he's like, "Okay, cool." He's like, "I'll put in a good word for you. Why don't you apply?" So I ended up applying, got the position. Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
These bugs.
I know. It wasn't bad when we first decided to do this out here, but.
So anyway, ended up getting the position, getting hired. And that, again, opened up that door for us to move to Billings. So we ended up moving to Billings, and then I got the job, and I was at the digital editor for both Peterson's Hunting and North American Whitetail at the time, which was cool for me because now I've lived out this was 2022, 23, I think. I don't know. Something like that.
Yeah.
And, I've been living out west now for 7-8 years. And it gave me an opportunity to work for North American Whitetail, which is a magazine that I had a subscription to my whole childhood.
Yeah.
Right? Because of growing up in the Southeast. And it gave me this opportunity to get back to my roots, if you will, of working in the whitetail space and doing some cool whitetail things. So I was super excited for that, right? So yeah, I ended up working there for about 2 years, and it was just kind of like, okay, like what's the next step, right? Like, I've looked at all of these different job opportunities of, okay, I'm going to start kind of low man on the totem pole as a cameraman, right? Kind of learn learn what it takes to work within this industry, right?
Yep.
Because even when I was in college, I was doing those type of things. I was working with RMEF, I was working with Wild Sheep, I was working with Weatherby and First Light and Onyx, right? I was starting to get photos and all those things and starting to get those relationships. Then I moved to Randy and I start building more relationships, starting to kind of see how sponsorships work, how deliverables work, like all of these type of things, right? What it takes to produce this much content consistently.
Yep.
All of these things. Then you go to Peterson's, which is kind of more of like the older generation of things, of Outdoor Sportsman's Group, of national television, national publications. So now you get to see where that like ad space is, like how sponsorships work, how creating different type of content, doing magazine articles, whatever that it is, digital articles. Gave me that space. So then, one thing leads to another, and I have a friend reach out to me and say, hey, I don't know if you're really kind of looking for something or what's going on, but I've got a buddy that is looking for somebody just like you. I'm like, really? And I was like, well, what's the position? Well, I can't really talk too much about it, but I think that you would be a really good person. I think you should kind of rework your resume a little bit and then send it to this email. Literally, like, that's the details I got for it. Did not know that it was for Barnes and Sierra.
Yeah.
Right? I just kind of got those details. I was like, again, I got to kind of trust the bigger plan, right? Like, if somebody's pushing, like, what does it hurt to have a conversation?
Yep.
Right? It's always worth at least having the conversation. So ended up doing that, sending my resume, got a call like, I think next day type of thing. It was like, hey, do you mind having a phone interview and like, let's get to know each other. So we ended up doing that. Yeah, exactly. So Andy Sparks, my boss, ends up calling me. We ended up getting on the phone, and it's one of those like, hey, it'll only take 30 minutes. Like, just would love to get to know you.
Yeah.
We ended up talking for about 2 hours on that first phone conversation. And I was like, well, I guess it's going pretty good if you're going to talk for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And we start talking about job and, me working remote versus being in Salt Lake City or outside of Salt Lake City, right? All of these type of things. So it's like moving very, very fast. And I was like, okay, cool. And then obviously I get to know that it's about working for Barnes and Sierra bullets. And I'm like, well, that's cool because I've been loading Barnes bullets for 15 years at this point. I've been reloading them. So it just was kind of this perfect, kind of this aha moment, if you will, this big full circle moment of like, I've been loading these bullets, shooting whitetails in the Southeast, bringing them out west, because my whole thought process was I want a bullet that does everything for me. It doesn't matter if I'm shooting whitetails or shooting elk. I can shoot one bullet through a 270 or a 7 mag or whatever that it is. It's going to kill anything that I need. So, again, big full circle moment for me. So I got hired on in August of last year, so almost a year ago now, to be the digital marketing guy, and, quickly kind of progressed. And now I'm the marketing manager for Barnes, since we've hired another guy, Colby, to be the marketing manager for Sierra.
Yeah, man, that's so cool. And it was funny. It's a funny story too with, when you had reached out to me last year, it was not long after you got on the job,
right?
And you were talking about wanting me to try out some product and see it. And I was, and you had emailed me there, and I was like, did you just watch this video I put out? And you're like, no. And I was like, I literally just did a video with my brother who is way more qualified than I am as far as talking about when it comes to ammunition, bullets, whatever. And we were going through, and I was basically kind of doing a gear podcast with him, and he had got me onto Barnes a while back. He's a huge fan of solid copper, same reason that you said about, right. He's like, this is something you can take anywhere across North America. You can go moose hunt and you can shoot, I've literally went up and hunted moose with the same ammo that I shoot whitetail with. Like it's so he was, going through that, and we did this video on all the different types of, and I get yelled at because interchange the wrong terms for cartridge and
caliber,
whatever. yeah.
I get yelled at too, and I work at an ammo spot, so don't feel too bad.
So yeah, people in the comments, you gotta get that. I'm like, I don't care, whatever. But anyways,
you get the understanding.
Understanding the different bullets and the cup and cores versus the solid coppers and going through all these things, and we landed on talking about Barnes like pretty heavily. And when you reached out, it's like, no, this is a great fit because I love
perfect time.
I love the products. I have them all in my gun safe already, and so that was super cool. I thought it's funny how that stuff works out, and
right?
And I feel like through it's crazy to think about. Someone was just saying this the other day. They're like, man, you're kind of a veteran in the outdoor industry. And I feel like I'm still new to it, but I've been doing the podcast for 7 years now and got to learn kind of the inside workings and the sponsorship side of it. And I'm like, I've been so lucky where I've been able to just work with companies that I want to work with and that are awesome products and be able to go and use them. And it's kind of it's taken me down a different road, especially in the last 4 years or so. I started, I guess it was 2020 when I really started, but rifle hunting again more, where I was like, more bow, not only bow hunting, but that was like kind of my focus with it. And then I realized how much more opportunities opened up to rifle hunting.
Right.
I went to Alaska and shot a caribou, and I was up there, and I was like, to me, I don't care whether it's muzzleloader, rifle, archery, whatever it is. I want the experience to be cool and be able to have a great experience. So, man, I'm any and all weapon, whatever the season is.
I've always considered myself as an equal opportunity hunter.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like, it doesn't matter if you told me that it was legal to use a slingshot and this is the only way that you can go hunt this specific animal, and I want to go hunt that specific animal, I'm going to figure out a way to go do it, right? But if it's, again, archery hunting, right? Like, I still love archery hunting. I mean, I think that we all kind of go through that phase, especially as we're younger, right? Like, you probably get into gun hunting when you're very young because it's the easy step as you kind of progress, right? You're not going to go straight into archery hunting more than likely. So you go into gun hunting. Then as you get into your, let's say, teenage years, right, into maybe even 20, you start really getting into archery. And then you go full bore into archery, right, up until maybe 25 or something like that. And then you're like, well, I don't have to be a bow hunter only. Like, I want to open myself up to as much as I can. So then you kind of go back. I've done the same thing.
Yeah.
But in saying that, right, like, I still archery hunt. I archery hunted last year.
Yeah.
I mean, multiple times. I mean, I went back to Iowa, or I went to Iowa with an archery tag in my hand for the first time. And I'd been dreaming of doing something like that since I was 12 years old, right?
Yeah.
And it was like, well, the time is now. Like let's apply for it. Let's try to do this. And ended up having enough points to draw a tag and go do it.
Yeah, and you shot a really good buck.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I would love to say that it's all skill, right? But it's definitely not. I feel like I kind of lucked into it. I definitely, I had a buddy of mine that has hunted the general unit of where I hunted before. Kind of gave me a few pointers of like, hey, I would check out these kind of public land spots, right? Because I wasn't going to go through an outfitter. I was like, might as well public land hunt. Again, now that I've moved out east, like, public land is kind of the main thing that I think about when I think about hunting.
Yeah.
I don't want to go through an outfitter if I don't have to. So he gave me a few spots and I was like, okay, like, this is the dates that I have. Like, what do you think about this? And I think I hunted it like the 15th to the 22nd, something like that, which I think is a great time, right? Yeah, November.
I'll be out there this year that time.
And ended up, I actually hunted it for 6 straight days. Was on deer every single day, but just not seeing, I had told myself I'd never shot a buck over 150 with a bow. And I told myself I wanted to break that mark. That was my goal. If I'm going to go to Iowa, I'm going to spend this time, I'm going to be in kind of the land of the giants, if you will, right?
Yeah.
Like, I want to push myself and try to shoot a buck over 150. Saw a lot of, great 135 to mid 140s type of deer. And it's just like, I can't do it. So anyway, I did that, and then I had a quick little 4-day work trip that I had to run to Missouri for, and actually came back through, and I drove, so I was going to drive straight back through Iowa. And I told my wife, I was like, I know I've been on the road for 9 days, but, would it be a big deal? I mean, because the other work trip was going to wrap up on like a Thursday.
Yeah.
Like, can I just like slip back into Iowa for like a day, 2 days and a half, something like that? I'll be home Sunday night, I promise. And she's like, well, I mean, you're there. You might as well do it, And I was like, okay, cool. End up going back in there the next day, and it was funny, right? I had my stand on my back, right? I'm going into public land, the place that I'd hunted for a couple days. I'd started to kind of figure out, places that I had hit. And I started walking in, I was like, well, I haven't hunted this place. Let's go check over here. And as I'm walking in, I literally jump like a 130-inch buck, like as I'm walking, like in the dark. And he's like staring at me at like 20 yards. And I walk up a little bit further, and all of a sudden I see some does kind of running off. And I'm walking like past literally the first place that I sat on that public land.
Uh-huh.
And I told myself, I was like, why am I going to walk all the way back there? I was like, that place was pretty damn good. Like, you hunted it for a day and a half, essentially. You saw deer every 4 hours, it seemed like you'd see deer.
Yep.
I was like, let's just do it. So I went in there. I decided to move 50 yards further up the ridge because where deer were kind of moving through. I start getting the stand up, and I look over, and here comes a 130-inch, like 8-point, like walking up the ridge to me. And I'm like, I just kind of stop. He kind of turns, moseys off, get the stand hung, right? Because I was doing a little light lock on. Get the stand hung. I'm not in the stand 5 minutes, and I look, and like here comes another like little 6-point, just kind of, just cruising, right? It's kind of that back side of the peak of the rut, and he's just kind of cruising, and I'm like, okay, well that's pretty cool. Like, I haven't been in the stand literally 10 minutes, and I've had 2 bucks walk by me, and it's hour after daylight, right? And not 30 minutes later, I look up, and here comes this buck coming off of a ridgeline, coming literally right up the trail that I had moved closer to.
Yeah.
And he walks to 19 yards, and I, shoot him, and kind of the rest was history, right? I mean, instantly it was one of those bucks that, like, as soon as I saw him, right, I could see that he had a really, really big right side. And I said, that buck will do it. Like, he's mature. Like, he's over 150. I can tell. And I, like I said, ended up shooting him and killed him, and I think he ended up going like 164 with a broken G3 that should have been 8 or 9 inches.
So that was basically a booner.
Yeah, he should have been a 170 type buck.
Good Lord, man.
Yeah.
I remember when you were sharing on your Instagram stories, I was like, oh my gosh, dude.
Yeah.
Like, that is the, like, what you think of when you dream of going to Iowa.
100%.
And it doesn't always happen.
No,
Rarely happen that way.
100%. Well, it's funny because my buddy that had turned me on to these places, when I was sending him these photos of like 135, 140-inch deer, he's like, you should probably shoot that deer. And I'm like, that's not what I came to Iowa for. He's like, you should probably shoot that deer on public. And I'm like, I just can't do it, man. I can't do it.
Yeah. And it's like, that really comes down to what you're going to be happy with in your own, kind of goals and that, I don't know, at least that's the way I look at it. Because I have, like, I call them floating goals depending on where I'm at and what experience 100%. I'm looking for.
Right.
And, I'd say Iowa for me this year, drawing a tag, taking a lot of years to get that tag. I'm like, I want to go in there and I want to shoot something pretty impressive.
Yeah.
That's going to, I don't even really know exactly what that inch limit is, but something that, like, I see it, and there's no doubt in my mind.
Exactly.
Because I've been in the situation more times than not where I try to talk myself into something,
deer. Yeah.
and it's like, that's probably not.
Right.
And then there's also been times where I've regretted that and realized that that was probably a very big representation for an area.
Yeah.
But that's, to me, it's like, then you just get to hunt more.
Right,
and
100%.
That's what's fun. Last year in Montana when I was elk hunting, it was a limited entry tag that I had, and I knew that there was good quality bulls. And I'm not a good elk hunter. I've elk hunted a decent amount to this point, and I want to be a really good elk hunter. And the first day I had passed on a young 6x6 bull, and I was like, what am I doing? Like, I was like upset about it after the fact, but I was like, no, like I have 10 days to be here. It took me all the way till day 10, but I ended up killing one bigger than what I had passed on.
Yeah.
And it was just like, It's hard to do though, man.
Well, and I mean, truthfully, I think that sometimes, again, I hate to kind of be that guy that's like, there's a reason for everything.
Yeah.
But like, if you tell yourself a goal and then you're able to stick to that goal and have that fortitude, if you will, right, to like make yourself stick to that. Sometimes I think you just get rewarded, right? Like, I mean, I look back at the moose hunt that I did up in Alaska, right? Like, we had a bull come in that was, I mean, he was pushing that 50-inch mark, and like called him to we called him to 400 yards and had him at 400 yards for like over 4 hours. And he had three on his, 3 brow tines on the left. We were in a unit that, right, it's either 4 brow tines or 50 inches.
Know that too well.
This is like day 6 of the hunt, and we hadn't seen many bulls at this point. And I mean, we had 3 people. It was myself, Tyler from Weatherby, and then my buddy Josh from Arkin Optics. We'd all gone up there, do DIY, drop camp, 10-day hunt. And we called this bull in, and it was one of those that, like, one guy's like, absolutely not, he's not 50 inches. One guy's like, I think he's going to be like 52. And then like the other guy's like, he's probably 49 or 50, So we kind of went through that, and it was so difficult to do that, right? Because you feel like you're on this once-in-a-lifetime hunt. You're on a DIY hunt on top of it. And all you want to do is be successful. But we ended up obviously passing that bull and go all the way through, and we get through day 10. We're going to get picked up on day 11. And as we're packing camp that morning, I end up hearing a bull grunt. I literally look over, and 800 yards away, give or take, maybe 1,200 yards away, I see this bull just standing in this meadow. And like, I instantly look at him, can tell he's, big enough, if you will, before even putting a spotter on him. I call to him, here he comes, walking right to us. Ended up getting like good glass on him. We put, we were using the reticles and the scope to like measure. Yep. We could tell he's well over 50. Plus he had his 4 brow tines. I ended up calling him to like 330 yards or something, and like shooting him at the edge of the river where we were going to get picked up at in 1 hour. Crazy.
Dude.
So I tell that story to tell, again, we had the fortitude to say, he's not big enough. We're sticking to our guns. We said that he needed to be 55-ish. That way that we're not even close.
Dude, that's exactly what I did.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. You telling that story, whenever you get some free time, I want you to go on my YouTube and watch the film I have called 50.
Okay.
And it's called that for a reason. Yeah. I went to Alaska, my dream hunt,
right.
DIY hunt, hadn't seen many moose. Me and my buddy Ethan and my camera guy Justin were there, and call this bull from like 1,400 yards across the lake, comes in the whole time. At one point, I'm like, oh, he's huge. And then next time, I'm like, no, I don't think so. I'm using the scope reticle.
Right.
He's hanging at like 270 down below us. And we're going back and forth. And I was like, I was coming anywhere from, I was even using my iPhone to take the measurement of like where the ear, how long the ears typically are in between the,
right.
And I was coming up with anywhere from 48 to 52. And I'm like, no, and he ended up coming in like 40 yards. My buddy Ethan was hunting with a bow, and we're like, no, and ended up not working out for us in the season. It had ended up ending there, but like I'm very glad. I'm happy with the decision.
Right.
Like then asking people afterwards, and it was like still nobody could really say like,
right.
It was a 3 brow tine thing.
Yeah, I mean, what's funny is the first thing we did, like, boat guy comes up, like takes us to the moose, because actually we had a little, I say a little, it became a much larger creek that we couldn't cross to actually get to him. And as soon as he picks us up, we like go over there, we look at his moose, and like, oh yeah, that's awesome, blah, blah, blah. And we're like, hey, by the way, like, can you look at this picture real quick? And we should pull up the other bull, which we had seen some really, really big bulls, but they were 3+ miles away. And it's like, we go back to that packing out elk 6 miles. The last thing you want to do is pack out a moose 3 miles, right? Especially up and over a mountain, if you will, in Alaska, through the bog, all that kind of stuff.
No.
So we had seen some bulls that to this day, I swear that he was probably pushing 70 plus. I mean, just absolutely giant. But it's like we can't go to him, and he was dogging a cow that just he's not going to leave the cow to come to a imaginary cow, if you will, as good as Mike Halling might have been. But anyway, we pull up that picture and we look at him. He's like, "Oh yeah, he's 50," like immediately, right? And I'm like, "Is he?" Like, you're a resident, you can shoot literally any legal bull.
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, he's 50," and I'm like, "Oh well," like.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those like bird in the hand. Doesn't really matter now. Like, we got it done, and it was so cool.
Man, that is awesome.
Yeah.
It's such a cool experience, and be there with buddies, and just like, again, how things just sometimes I 100% believe that there's a plan for how those things work out.
Right. And I mean, again, not to do too many like quote plugs, but I was working for Peterson's Hunting, still shooting a Barnes bullet there, right? And absolutely smacked that. We actually have that video on our YouTube channel as well. If anybody wants to go watch that at the Barnes Bullets YouTube channel, nice. You can watch that moose hunt.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that yet, so I'm gonna have to check that out too. And so explain a little bit for anybody that doesn't know about Barnes and kind of what Barnes is known for, and kind of a little bit about the company.
Yeah, for sure. If I can keep these flies away.
I know, dude. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so, Barnes has basically been known as the all-copper bullet manufacturer, the leader in the all-copper bullet manufacturer. We were kind of the first person that really did that. Fred Barnes, came out with the original way back in 1932, and did that for quite a while in his shop, and it was all about heavy for caliber, right? Penetration was the number one thing. But those were lead cup and core bullets. Fast forward a little bit, that Randy and Connie Brooks bought Barnes back in the, I want to say it was like late 80s.
Okay.
And they were big hunters, started taking the bullets to Africa, Alaska, right? Hunting brown bear, hunting Cape buffalo, all those type of things. And on a hunt back from Alaska, Randy wasn't happy with the bullet penetration. So he was like, well, why don't I take the lead out? Because it's got a copper, outer, right? Take the lead out, and then I can make it a little bit lighter. It's going to be faster, and I'm going to still be able to push through and get that penetration. So he literally, everybody jokes around about like $1 million ideas come from writing on a napkin. He was on the airliner, had his napkin, and started basically drawing out the first X bullet on that flight home from Alaska.
Really?
So he designs the X bullet, which then, they start to see these great, penetration, and great results from, and goes from there to developing the TSX, which is kind of one of our bread and butter bullets. And then they went and took the TSX to the TTSX, which is the tip version of the TSX.
Yeah, which is the one that I've used for years.
Okay.
Yep, the TPSX. Yep.
Yeah. So, and that's one of the first bullets that when I got into hand loading and wanted to shoot, right, I was shooting a 270, and I started loading the 130 grain TTSX because it was just, again, all around bullet. I could do anything with it.
Yep.
And really kind of the cool thing about these are, fluid is what actually makes them expand. With the TSX, you're going to have that 100% weight retention every single time. It's going to give you that straight line penetration. I mean, and again, right, everybody wants weight retention because it's going to give you that you might not have the largest cavity, if you will, because it is only going to expand to, let's say, 2x versus like a lead cup and core bullet. It's going to expand, and it's going to be very violent. This is going to expand, but it's going to give you that full penetration. Very rarely have I've shot a lot of animals with a Barnes bullet, and very rarely have I ever found one, because most of the time they're going to blow through a complete animal, right? It doesn't matter if you're shooting through a shoulder, if you're quartering at a weird angle. I actually found the one that I shot my moose with, but that was only because I hit him basically at the base of the neck, and it was stuck barely under the offside hide. So it went through the neck, basically into the front of this shoulder, through this shoulder, and it was barely hanging on on that one, and that was at 400-ish yards.
Yeah.
Out of a 300 Weatherby mag, just to give you an idea, right? So
yeah, I'd found one of my TTSX. I was spring bear hunting, and I'd shot a bear at like 275 yards, and it was a frontal, and so it went through the body. I can't remember where it was at, and was able to recover it there. I was like, it was super cool to be able to see that. And like, my brother's done it where, like he will spend a lot of time trying to find it, on the pass-throughs, and then weighing it and going through and like seeing how much it retains.
It is cool. It is interesting because, again, right, like to go from a TSX to a TTSX, you will lose a little bit of that weight, but the reason is because you're losing the tip. It's not so much that you're losing weight in the actual bullet projectile itself. It's just because of the tip. So I've found a few TTSXs, and they've always been like, let's say I'm shooting 130 grain, it's like 29.4 or 129.4, right? So like, I mean, you're talking about less than 5%, 2% of lost weight retention. Like, it's still going to do everything you want, right? And then with that, I mean, from the TTSX, the next natural progression was our LRX bullet, right? That came out in, I believe it was 2011. And, with the push for more long range hunting, right? LRX stands for long range X bullet.
Yeah. So explaining the kind of different ones there, if you were talking about the TTSX having a little more of a tip than the TSX, and the LRX being a little more for long range, but why would you want a little more of the tip, like for the TTSX versus?
Well, and one of the great things, right? So we're on a podcast right now. We just started the Barnes Bullet Points podcast not too long ago. And episode 2 is all about the bullet families.
Okay.
And people can learn, because we have Greg Sloan, which is our head of R&D and ballistics. And we had Mitchell Cookson on there, which is our engineer, right, that designs all these bullets. So both those guys are in there, and they can talk to it way further than I can. I could give you the brief overview of what I learned, essentially, even more.
Yeah, we don't even need to go in the nitty gritty. Yeah. People that want to go into that can go listen to it. But as far as like the average consumer, it's like, I just want something that's going to freaking work. You know?
So the way I look at it is our TSX, think of it as almost like a good, better, best, as well as a short, medium, longer range.
Okay.
Right? Like that. I think that's kind of the easiest way to look at it. A TSX is going to give you that very fast, like super, essentially instant expansion, 100% weight retention. But because it doesn't have that tip to kind of help with your BC, help with flight, it might only be good, let's say, out to 350, 400 yards, right? Like that's going to be kind of where you want to limit yourself to with like a TSX. Granted, we do have some, quote, newer TSXs and like a 28 Nosler that, can you shoot it out to 700 yards? Absolutely. It's built to be a long-range gun. Mm-hmm. Then you go to like a TTSX, right? It's going to be kind of that 0 to 600 yards, right? You're going to extend that distance a little bit. But with that, right, you've got the tip to help with your BCs, help with your aerodynamics for flight, all of those things. But you might lose that 5% of weight retention, God forbid. And then you go to like an LRX bullet that, I hate to, quote, promote long-range hunting, but I will tell you this, that they will basically do anything that you need it to do, as long as you're not absolutely pushing, below, let's say, 1,200 foot per second when it impacts.
Gotcha. No, that's a simple way of being able to explain it. For someone like me, that's typically all I need to know as far as like choosing something. I go deep, and I've gone so deep on the archery side that I've actually backed off because I felt like I knew more than I needed to on certain things, and I've overcomplicated.
And you can almost like try to over-engineer the thought process of what you're trying to get at. Like, if you're just looking for penetration, like, go with a heavy arrow, right? Yeah. And it's kind of the same thing when it comes to a bullet, right? Like, go with a heavier bullet. Go with an all copper bullet versus a lead bullet, because you know that you're going to get that. And if that's what you want, if you want just massive, let's say massive wound channel and this crazy, like, devastating, quote, knockdown power, I mean, Barnes will definitely give that to you as well, but like a lead's going to do something for you. And again, I am the marketing manager for Barnes, but we're also owned by the same company for Sierra, right? And Sierra makes great products for that as well.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, there's obviously different products for different use. And this is how I look at the copper versus the cup and core, or the other one. It's a fixed broadhead versus the mechanical. This is the way I think of it. And I love shooting fixed broadheads because I've always different situations. I don't know what the shot angle is. I want to be able to visualize where those vitals are. Like my whitetail in PA this past year, I shot through the front shoulder on the ground at 10 yards, full pass through. I'm confident in making that shot with my setup. And I think of that when I think of the Barnes solid coppers. And that's how, when my brother was explaining to me all the differences, and that's how I was like, is that kind of, he's like, yes, that's.
Well, it's funny you say that. I mean, I never really kind of put two and two together.
Yeah.
But that's a great
analogy.
Analogy there, right?
Yeah.
Because I've actually been a fixed broadhead guy all of my life. And now I kind of look back and it's like, well, yeah, because I wanted to know that I had full penetration anytime. And to go back to the Iowa story, same thing, 19 yards, big Iowa, mature 6.5-year-old deer, right? Comes in and I basically shot him through the front shoulder on that Q2, and it exits down through his brisket, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, the arrow's stuck into the ground, right?
Yeah.
But I never had to even question myself. Do I need to wait for him to turn a little bit so I can slip one in behind the shoulder? Nope, I'm going to blow it right through. Yeah. I'm also shooting heavy arrow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm shooting a roughly 500 grain plus arrow, right? All of those things. So, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's kind of how I've looked at it. And just the idea of with those types is just this is your all around. Not sure what the scenario is, because my brother was always stressing with me about that. Let me get this right. The caliber is not as important as the bullet of
the
cartridge, whatever. Dang it, I'll never get that right. But anyways, because he builds rifles, and he built his own 270, and he read a lot of Jack O'Connor stuff, and so he's been wanting to shoot all animals all over. Shot mountain goat in Colorado and elk, mule deer, all at that 270, and he's like, you use the right projectile. It's more important than worrying about the cartridge.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah. No, and I 100% agree with that. It's funny because I was a 270 guy all my years growing up, right? And then once that I was 21, something like that, I bought a 7 mag because it was like that. To me, that was kind of the natural progression from a 270.
Yeah.
In a way, if you're a 30-06 guy, probably you buy a 300 Win mag.
Yeah.
But if you're a 270, you buy a 7 mag, right?
Yeah.
So I actually bought a 7 mag, and again, right, started loading bullets. I was shooting 150 grain, but it was like, well, I'm just shooting a little bit heavier bullet.
Yeah.
But it's going whatever 200, 300 feet per second faster, right? Versus that 270. But it's funny that you bring up Jack O'Connor. I mean, because I was the same way. I was like, well, hell, Jack O'Connor was able to kill anything and everything, right?
Yeah.
All these sheep, mountain goats, all this type of stuff. And, one thing, since we haven't talked, for a little while, other than texting, knowing that this was coming up, literally a week ago yesterday, so I wanted Dall sheep hunt back at Hunt Expo this year. Crazy thing, right? Hunt Expo has this thing called Sheep Camp. They give away 10 sheep hunts. I decided, since we're there, right, because we're at the trade show, I might as well go do it. So I ended up winning a Dall sheep hunt. I quickly find out that it's not until 2027, right? Because it's a giveaway hunt. They've got to work through their clients, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, that's fine. That gives me 2.5 years to get ready for this thing, right? That's great. I love that it's that far away. Last Thursday, I got a text while I was down at the facility that from the outfitter, and he's like, hey, I know this is kind of last minute, but is there any way that you can be here in August for this hunt? And I was like, well, first I need to check with both my bosses, my wife and my real boss,
yeah.
right? My life boss and my work boss, if you will.
Yeah.
So end up checking with them, and they're like, "Hey, like I know how excited you are. You've always wanted to go sheep hunting. That's kind of been your number one dream.
Yeah.
Like you probably need to go do it." And I'm like, "I have 47 days to get ready for this. Like, do I think I can be in quote sheep shape in 47 days?" And I'm like, I've already been working out kind of over the summer and getting, ready for the fall, if you will, because I do have quite a few other quote bigger hunts planned.
Yeah, physically demanding.
Demanding hunts. But I was like, well, that one's not really until October. Like I've got some time to prep for that, if you will. But I kind of talked, and then I talked to a few buddies that one of my really good buddies has actually been guiding. Again, one of those guys that just jumps and does it. He's from Montana, but always wanted to move to Alaska and go after it. So he moved up there 3 or 4 years ago and is actually a guide for a sheep outfitter. Talked to him that night, and I was like, "Can I do it?" And he's like, "You're probably already ready, but could you get in more better shape?" Absolutely. He's like, "You can do it." So I called the guy back on Friday, and I was like, "I'm in." So I'd say all of those things to say I'd always told myself that if I was ever going to be able to get a chance to go sheep hunting, I was going to shoot one with the 270. So now I'm in this really weird predicament of I'm very much, since 7 PRCs come out, I've absolutely loved 7 PRC. And our 160 grain LR, ammo is absolutely lights out, like incredible. I built a 7 PRC 2 years ago, and it's a shooter.
Yeah.
But do I take the 270 because that's what I always told myself to do, or do I take the modernized, quote, long range gun that I know is going to crush anything, let's call it 600 yards and in.
Yeah.
So I'm in that predicament.
Ooh, that's a tough one, man.
I've also thought about building a new 270 and a fast twist barrel that can actually shoot our 155 grain bullet that's really designed for like a 6.8 Western.
Yeah.
But you could put it through because it's the same diameter as a 270, but you can make it a fast twist so you could shoot a heavier all copper 155 grain out of a 270.
Okay.
Which would be kind of an interesting thing.
Yeah.
But it would be a custom build, right?
What are you leaning towards? Or is it still too new
yet? So now that was 47 days. That was 8 days ago. So now we're at give or take 40-ish days out.
Yeah.
Check back with me in about 30 days.
Yeah.
and I'll tell you.
Oh, dude, that's so awesome, though.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah, dude, it's wild. Like I'm over the moon excited. I'm incredibly blessed to have my wife, that we have 2 little girls at home. I'm already going to be gone a lot this fall, and then to add this, for a 10-day hunt on top of it, I can't thank her enough for being understanding.
Yeah.
For my dreams and understanding like who I am as a person and what drives me to be a better man and a better husband and a better father. Right. And that's adventure, right? Like I love to go do those things and then come home to them and kind of, whew.
Yeah, dude, that is, I'm through the roof excited for you. Cause that's like, and it's one of those things where sheep hunts have become very kind of out of reach. And I don't mean to say 100%. That, but they just so being factual about it, they are out of reach to the everyday person.
I mean, and even for me, right? Like I'm a Montana resident, and it's like, well, I would love to think that I'm going to draw a sheep tag at some time, but I only have 8 points, and a lot of people are probably like, well, you got 8 points, that's pretty damn good. But like, there's probably 2,000 people in the state right now that have 20 plus.
Yeah.
And guess what? They're not giving out 2,000 tags a year.
Yeah.
They might give out 100. So how long is it going to take to work through those 2,000 people?
Yep.
To, and then we got to work through the 19, the people that have 19 points and 18 points and all that type of stuff. So I kind of knew that, like you said, I mean, it's completely out of reach. Like this hunt alone is valued at like $45,000 for a sheep hunt. Right. Yeah. And it's like, I'm never going to we talk about means and opportunity. That's one of those things that I won't have the means or opportunity other than to
win it,
to win something like this, you know? So what I would also say is, as much as I don't want the competition, is, you know, you should always be playing the games, because somebody's got to win, and it might as well be you.
Well, it's like we're here at the Sitka house, and the one guy that I've known for a while here that's helped out with Sitka, Steve, he's won a couple of hunts through that. He just got back from what was it, muskox?
Oh, really?
Hunt
That's cool.
that he did in March on sleds and stuff in the snow.
Super
and like,
cool. Yeah.
And it's, you never know if you don't play.
Right.
100%. That's gambling I'm in on.
Right. Well, and I mean, like the sheep camp thing, right? Like, they only allow, I think it's like 1,200 people to be able to buy a ticket. You think about it, like 10 hunts that they're going to give away, right?
Yeah.
Like, your odds are essentially just under 1%.
Yeah.
But that's way better than any odds that I have of drawing a tag.
Yeah, that's better odds than me drawing the Gila, New Mexico for hunting elk.
Right. I mean, think about that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you might as well play. Yeah, it's $150 to enter, but you're spending $150 to put in for that New Mexico tag every year.
100%. Right? You're spot on with that.
So, and also the money goes to a good organization and all that type of stuff, right? Like, let's be honest. Same thing with Wild Sheep, with like their less than one club. They give away multiple hunts, every year for both international sheep and domestic sheep. So, yeah, I mean, you got to pay to play, but also you got to play to win, right?
Yeah. Well, after that hunt, we'll definitely have to do a recap of how that one goes. But
maybe it'll be at the end of the year. Let's think on that, because I've got a couple other up my sleeve that we can talk about off air that might be exciting.
Okay, sweet.
Maybe I'll use all different calibers so we can talk about how different calibers cartridges do on different types of species.
Yeah, it's like they all died.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's my thing. I also do say that, like, you can't over dead something.
Yes.
Like, if you can handle the recoil of a 300 Weatherby mag or a 7 PRC, you might as well shoot it.
Yeah.
Especially if the gun's not that heavy. Like, you got to think back, right? That's kind of where I go of, like, do I carry the 7 PRC? My 7 PRC is still a lightweight mountain gun, right? It's 8.5 pounds. I built it that way to be it. But it's like, I could probably build this 270 at like 7. Is a pound and a half going to matter? It might matter after 10 days.
Yep. Yeah. No, that
recoil mitigation, right? Like all those things.
I've got basically 2 hunting rifles that are like my go-to. I have a 300 Win Mag and a 308, and it's like my 308, that gun, that CVA, is super light for whitetail, doing everything. I was using my 300 Win Mag across the board, and it was just like, it was like, that's overkill for whitetail. I was like, well, no, it's not. In my opinion,
there's guys in Florida shooting 300 Win Mags for 120-pound whitetails.
Yes, and so like, but the 308 was like, it's just in that model, is a lighter gun and just easier to carry around with me, a little bit shorter.
Right.
And so the other one I have set up a longer barrel for dialing in. I'm learning some of the more of the longer range stuff. It's been fun to kind of play around with, but that, so that's, but. Anyways, I did want to transition a little bit.
Okay.
One, you're talking about the as far as your wife being so cool and everything. Right. I know you do got to go back and be back on time for something, so I want to make sure I'm respectful of that time.
I appreciate that.
But I do want to get into the Harvest collection a little bit that came out, because that is something that is really new to Barnes.
Yeah.
With putting a Sierra Tip Game King and on the end of it, and I'd seen that it was like somewhat a little bit controversial from some of the hardcore Barnes
fanboys, if you will.
About it. And so I want to talk a little bit about that, where that came from, and what the purpose of that ammunition is.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, again, kind of going back to the Barnes story, right? We've always been known as the Western big game hunters bullet of choice, ammo of choice. Africa, all of those type of things. Alaska, right? Deep penetration, all copper, all the time. with us being aligned with Sierra, we're sister companies. It made a lot of sense that we wanted to expand our reach and also bring the consumer something that is, premium products at a consumer-friendly price point, right? Like that was very important to us. The way that we could do that, and we also understand that maybe somebody doesn't want to shoot copper, right? They know how they shoot other lead cup and core bullets, and maybe they want something different for a more competitive price or a better offering in that lead cup and core. So we decided to come out with the Harvest Collection. Obviously, it's got a big whitetail right there on the box, so
that's a sick box.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that was super cool, right? And again, that was something very different because you look at like a normal Barnes box, it's got big Barnes right across, Vortex across the box, or Pioneer or something like that, right? But we wanted to do something different and really kind of like cater to our audience that we're trying to go after, right? And who we want to be shooting this. So, we came out with the Harvest Collection. It's available in 9 offerings right off the bat. I will say that we're, potentially looking at expanding those lines for 2026. But with that, right, we did traditional deer hunting type of calibers, right? We did a lot of research of what are the top 9 cartridges that whitetail hunters, thin-skinned game hunters, right? Because it's not just for whitetail hunters. It's great for all thin-skinned game, would be shooting, right? So it's everything from a 223, which some people might think is a little small, but again, great for hogs, great for axis deer. Maybe you're shooting coyotes with it, right? Yep. But then you got your traditional more, 270, 243, 308, 30-06, right?
30-06, yep.
7 rim mag, 300 Win mag. So you've got a wide variety that you can kind of choose from, but it does have that Sierra Tip Game King. Again, it's a lead cup and core bullet. A lot of people were like, "You've been preaching about all copper for up-teen amount of years. Why would you want to switch to this?" And it's like, again, maybe people just don't want to shoot all copper. Maybe they don't see the need for it, but they still want that Barnes, known name and recognition for being extremely premium products. Our loading capabilities are low SDs, right? Like all these temperature stable rounds, and then to bring it to the consumer for $39.99. I mean, you can't. It's pretty damn hard to beat.
Yeah, and still maintaining that performance of
right.
it. And that's the thing. It's like not everybody is going to spend, the higher dollar amount
right.
for the all coppers. And it's like, man, like I just want to go out, I want to get some meat on the table, but I still want to be able to do it ethically, have a good round that I know when I shoot, doing what I need it to,
right,
and be able to come out at that price point. I mean, I think it makes total sense,
yeah.
especially with Sierra and Barnes being so closely related
exactly.
in the same family. It was an easy combination there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that Sierra Tip Game King it crushes. Like, yeah. I'll be honest with you, right? Like, I shot antelope with it last year. I shot a few different whitetails with it last year. I shot an axis deer with it this year, So, it'll do everything. I've shot hogs with it as well. I mean, it'll do everything that you could ask for, especially to that Midwest to East Coast region that I feel that maybe hasn't really known Barnes or always looked at Barnes as like, I don't really need that type of performance because all I'm doing is whitetail hunting 90% of my life, but this gives an opportunity for those to, we want to bring more people into the Barnes family. Yep. And then that way that maybe they are that East Coast hunter that is going on their once in a lifetime elk hunt or mule deer hunt or moose hunt or sheep hunt or whatever that it is. And then they're like, man, that Barnes is kicked ass when I've been shooting whitetails.
Yep.
I might as well step up to that TTSX or that LRX.
Yep.
Right.
No, that makes total sense. It's super cool to see. I'm excited to use those this year and get to play around with them a little bit more. Like I said, I think it was funny when I was younger how I would buy ammunition was the box.
Yeah.
Like I'd look and be like, yeah, that's pretty cool, big, nice,
Right.
whatever it might be. And I was like, it's a cool vintage, heritage look to it. It's
well,
good.
And it makes it easy for you to pick the right one off the shelf. It's like, oh, I'm going deer hunting, I'm gonna grab that one right there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it is true too. Like, and because like, especially when you don't geek out on it, you don't know a lot, you're going into a store and you're going to buy it, that helps.
Yeah, absolutely.
Be able to tell you kind of what you're looking for.
Yeah.
No, that's super cool. Excited about the Harvest collection, which is available now. So
yeah, I mean, it's going to be available nationwide here shortly. I would say probably by the end of July.
Okay.
It will be available nationwide. I mean, it's already on a lot of, kind of more like local retailer stores. But it's also available on our website too at barnesbullets.com where, and that's one thing that I will say that a lot of people say that, it's tough to kind of find Barnes on some shelves when they're looking for things, is always look at our website as well, right? Because if you can't find it on your local retailer store, more than likely we're going to have it in stock on the website. And also we ship it right to your door in 2 days.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty nice.
That is pretty nice.
I know that when we've talked and you're like, hey man, like, can I get some ammo? And like, it's there pretty dang quick.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah. It was. I was very surprised by that. And I always just grew up. You go to the store to pick up ammunition. Then I got some of it shipped. I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's pretty nice when it can be, delivered to your doorstep. You never even have to get in the truck.
Yeah. Yeah. The conveniences we have now are pretty pretty solid in that. I don't love going shopping. So
right.
That makes sense. Is there anything else you want to cover, talk about before we wrap this one up?
Again, I appreciate you having me on and being a partner with Barnes and Sierra. It's been a great relationship over the past year since we've been talking.
Yeah. And
I look forward to doing a lot more of these and recapping here at the end of the year.
Yeah, man. I can't wait to hear about these hunts. Like that's super cool. And I love that about the hunting industry, like yourself, of like extremely, extremely passionate hunter, got into this position because of, chasing dreams and wanting to have these incredible experiences and then get to work for the companies that do. I feel like there's a lot of industries, I've worked in the automotive space. I've worked in like the steel making. There things I weren't really interested in, but it's just a job.
Right.
Where it's like when you get to meet people that are like, especially in this space, that are like just all in on it, it's pretty cool. So I appreciate you making the drive down here.
Absolutely.
And doing that. And so everyone check out barnesbullets.com and then Barnes Bullets on Instagram, Facebook.
Yep,
yeah,
absolutely.
And
LinkedIn,
YouTube,
Twitter, YouTube.
Everything.
Yeah, we're definitely ramping up our YouTube game. I would say that was one of kind of my big undertakings, right, is that we want to produce a lot of content. Most of these hunts that I am alluding to this year will be filmed, and we'll be producing films for that, which is super cool, right?
Nice.
Plus the new Barnes Bullet Points podcast.
I was just
a little plug there, right? Like we're going to try to produce a lot of those. I think that our goal is to have, one a week over the summer, and then obviously do some hunt recaps, start bringing on guests.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about this since we just launched. I think that we're going to have some really good conversations, maybe some funny points, and also some kind of like picking on some guys here and there when they're shooting match grade ammo or something like that instead of shooting copper and not getting any penetration. So
I love it, man. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Beau.
Yep. Hey guys, thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed this conversation, share it with your buddies. Leave us a rating, a review, and subscribe. If you want to check out more content like this, there's plenty in the links below. We truly appreciate having you guys along with us.